it's Jessica. Welcome and welcome back to the Not Carrie Bradshaw YouTube channel. In this video, I am yapping about, we're having a kiki, we're discussing, we're reviewing season 2, episode 4 of Interview with the Vampire. This was a meaty episode. We have a lot of things to get through, so I'm just going to get right to it. So Claudia has two driving forces, I feel like, as a character. This poor girl wants to be an adult, even though she's in a constant state of suspended adolescence, pre-adolescence, which is why one of the rules is you shouldn't turn someone this young. And she wants family, she wants connection, she wants a place to belong. Louis is not enough, honey, okay? Her first family just didn't work out like that. And they went looking for other people like them, wanting to have like a sense of identity, to know more about what it means to be a vampire. So that's a lot of people say that vampirism is a metaphor for marginalized people. A lot of people feel like it's a metaphor for being gay in society because it's looking for other people who live like you, who have to live their lives in the dark, and you want a feeling of community. It's a human need. And she had been a human for a long time, right? So this is a part of the reason why the vampire troupe was so attractive to her. So she now went through her hazing process or whatever, and at her probate, they basically give her a dress where she will be perpetually a child. And every night on this stage, she has to perform as a child. Now, the irony being that this character in this play is a child who is obsessed with flying and meets her demise trying to fly like a bird. And I feel like that's a bit of foreshadowing. So because she is so unhappy with this position, and it's a huge success, the people of Paris absolutely love it. They making merch and shit. People keep coming and they have repeat customers, and she's, noticed on the street for being this character. And she hates it. She's grown bored. She's upset. This isn't, a part of her identity that she wants to embrace. And she's vocal about it. And Armand is looking at her like she's a petulant, ungrateful child. This is what you wanted. It's insulting to the person who wrote this that you don't feel like this is good enough for you. And he wants to punish her so badly. And she is looking at wanting a friend. So she goes back to the dressmaker because this is the only person that she's really connected with, albeit somewhat contentious. And it looks like there's a budding friendship there. Like the dressmaker opens up to her about how and why people perceive her to be a Nazi. And let's pull over right here real quick. It's giving Coco Chanel. From her perspective, she just slept with a boy who was a soldier. She's like, I didn't invite Hitler into the country or anything like that. I slept with someone who didn't even know who he was. And now I've been labeled as such. And it's like, you can find nobody else to sleep with, perhaps. Like, I get what you're saying, but I don't know where we're supposed to land on the empathy for the dressmaker. I just don't know, because it was giving Coco Chanel. So, who, if you didn't know, was a Nazi collaborator. So Armand finds out about this budding friendship, and he comes down on Claudia so hard. And he also reveals to her, when he is like confronting her about this whole issue, that he knows about Lestat. This sends Claudia spinning. So there are all these fractures happening. So Claudia and Louis' relationship has become fractured because he shared this information with Armand without her knowing, and she feels like he has put yet another man ahead of her, where he was saying it was going to be me and you. Now it's you and this man. So it's kind of like, you done came in and put this man over your child, sister. So then Armand's relationship with the other vampires, the other actors, is fractured because of his relationship with Louis. And they can't seem to understand why are you changing the rules for this one dude. And they look at Louis as being pretentious, and they just do not see it for him, to the point where they end up having Santiago and Louis end up having this battle of wits and power at this dinner, and Armand has to use his powers to calm everything down. And this creates a fracture between Armand and Louis, because Armand is like, well, what are we? And Louis is like, we are what we are. We doing what we doing. What's understood don't need to be explained. He hit him with some hardcore fuckboy paraphernalia. Okay, propaganda is what I was looking for there. Propaganda. So these fractures are happening, and from Louis's perspective, he's like, Claudia, I did what I could to make you happy. You weren't happy in New Orleans, so we kind of sort of killed the man who wasn't making you happy. Then you wanted to go across Europe looking for the rest of the vampires. That didn't make you happy. Now we're in Paris. You got what you wanted. You pledged and got hazed up to be part of this vampire troupe, this performing troupe, and you're still not happy. What else am I supposed to do? Maybe your happiness needs to be your responsibility at this point, perhaps. And it's like both people are making some valid points here. I'm not going to say that these aren't valid points, right? So Armand takes Louis to this museum, this night at the museum, honey, and gives him his origin story where his parents thought that they were selling him to a merchant ship to work on a merchant ship, but he was actually sold to the ship's captain, and he worked in this brothel until his maker came and rescued him. And apparently, but then his maker was reluctant to give him the gift of everlasting life or everlasting undeadness. I don't know what you call it. But then he would pimp him out on occasion too, until a coven came and killed the maker. And so I'm like, did one of them make you a vampire? I might have missed that part. Like, what was the turning point where he decided that you have served him enough that he did decide to turn you? I don't know. And we find out that Lestat and Armand were sired basically by the same vampire, that they were made by the same person. Magnus, I think was his name. And you know, because Louis wants to know who Armand is. Like, we can see that Armand is a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde kind of character. He can be incredibly nurturing, compassionate, and understanding, but he can also be quite ruthless and volatile. And which one of these people is the real person? So at some point, Louis makes the decision, all the while, he is seeing this specter, this ghost, this I don't know what you want, this figment of his imagination of Lestat. Lestat is always kind of there, right? And he's trying so hard, or maybe not hard enough, to just focus on his relationship with Armand. But as Louis is telling Daniel Malloy, like, about how he sees Lestat, Daniel Malloy is like, okay, so were you schizophrenic? Is that what's happening here? Like, what do you mean you saw him? And you can see that Armand is visibly moved by this. Like, he is upset that, like, your ex impacted you in this way. And they've been together for 1,000 years. But to see that Lestat had such a profound impact on him is kind of, I guess, bringing that insecurity back up, which I guess is why the whole him mixing in the professional photos with Louis' photos, I don't know what that was about. I guess he thought that, I don't know why he did that, but I will say that I did love that Gordon Parks Easter egg in there. I am like a huge fan of Gordon Parks as a photographer and as just like a cultural icon for Black people. If you're unfamiliar with him, go look at some of his work. I can't say enough about him, but I love that they threw that in there. That's the picture that Louis' work was being compared to. And as an artist, if you can't really participate in life in the way that you want to participate in life, I guess that would read through in your art. Of course, he doesn't have proper light because he can't exist in proper lighting, right? So we're also the whole time this episode getting these little flashbacks, these little interstitials in Daniel Malloy's mind where he's seeing something, but it's an incomplete story. And at a certain point, Daniel brings up the theater. He's like, what happened with the fire in the theater? And they're like, how do you know about that? And Daniel does a really good job of covering up. He's like, oh, my researcher thinks that we're looking at Paris post-war and she came across this, so I want to know. And just then we see one of these little premonitions. So I'm thinking like, okay, is Armand messing with his head to try to distract him from digging too deeply? Like, there's something here that they don't want Daniel to know, or maybe Armand doesn't want Daniel to know. And I'm like, what is this? What's happening? Is this the Parkinson's? Is this a real memory? Is somebody messing with Daniel's head? Like, what's happening? And all the while, Santiago has kind of tried to ingratiate himself to Claudia a little bit by giving her the tea on some of the other people, right? But he sees that she is journaling. He breaks into their apartment to retrieve some of these journals because they know that something is up. Like, they have clocked that Louis has a different kind of accent and that their origin story might not be on the up and up, right? So again, Claudia feels betrayed by Louis, and there are just all these little fractures happening. And this is something that I love about film and TV, where they do something to like inflate the tension, and then they either pop it or don't. I absolutely love that. So I guess we'll find out next episode what came of what they discovered in these journals, because we see that one of the ones that he picked up was written in blood, and that was where Claudia wrote down their whole plan for Lestat. So we have that to look forward to. And as Louis and Armand are arguing about these photos and why he felt the need to do this, like to mix in those photos to give him the impression that he was a better photographer than he was, these little fractured memories are coming back to Daniel. And you can tell that, like, at a certain point, he's like, okay, I have questions, I need answers, because the person who hacked his laptop gave him surveillance footage of Louis and Armand carrying him out of their apartment. And he also has these original recordings from their first attempt at this interview. And he's like, okay, there's something happening here, because Daniel is nothing if not a journalist. He digs, he probes, he asks the questions. So I'm very excited to see what happens the next episode. I will circle back. Be sure to like and comment and subscribe and join the Patreon. And I'll be back for the next episode. Bye.